And breaking moments ago, word that prime ministers from Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovenia are on their way to Kyiv right now to meet with President Zelenskyy in that besieged city. This is a remarkable statement of solidarity to go to somewhere like Kyiv in the middle of a bombardment there. You'd be hard-pressed to find any example like it in history. It's akin to world leaders going to London during the Blitz.
Well, rescue efforts are still going on at the TV tower, which is situated near a village about 13 kilometers from the center of Rivne city. So that death toll of 19 may yet rise. The TV tower was being guarded by a unit of Ukraine's National Guard, and it's thought that the victims are all members of the National Guard. The TV and radio signal has been interrupted for some people, though people do still have access to cable, and there are other broadcasting towers in the region that are still trying to broadcast. The local TV channel is still working, though its programming was interrupted this morning when there was that air raid warning across the whole of Ukraine.
Now, the United States has said that India would not be violating its sanctions against Russia by purchasing discounted Russian oil. This comes after Russia offered India to buy crude oil and other commodities at a discounted price. All this a week after the US banned all Russian energy imports.
Our message to any country continues to be that obviously abide by the sanctions, but that we have put in place and recommended. I don't believe this would be violating that.
The US recognizes that India is heavily dependent on Russia for arms, ammunition, missiles and fighter jets. In recent weeks, US officials have said that they would like India to distance itself from Russia as much as possible. India is the world's third largest oil consumer and importer. It imports 80% of its oil, out of which 2 to 3% comes from Russia.
As imprisoned Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny awaits his verdict, the prosecution has requested he be sentenced to 13 years in prison on contempt of court and fraud charges. They have also asked that he pay a fine of almost 10,000 euros. The prosecution is requesting that he be sent to a strict regime penal colony. Navalny, Vladimir Putin's most vocal opponent, was jailed last year after he was poisoned by a nerve agent. The former lawyer maintains the Kremlin was behind the attack. Following his arrest, his anti-corruption foundation was outlawed as extremist, while many of his key aides fled the country in fear of prosecution. It remains unclear whether the 13-year term will include time already served. The verdict is expected to be delivered on March 22nd.
At least 13 Burkina Faso soldiers were killed and several went missing on Sunday in an ambush near Tapako, a mining town in the northern part of the country plagued by frequent and deadly jihadist attacks. The military junta, led by Lieutenant Colonel Paul Henry Sandaogo Damiba, has made the fight against jihadism and the rebuilding of the Burkina Faso state his priority. Damiba has been in power following a military coup that toppled President Roch Marc Christian Kabore and placed him under house arrest for failing to stem jihadist violence.
We have just released a new report that sets out the continuing spiral of violence in Myanmar since the 1st of February coup of last year. And the military is continuing to engage in systematic and widespread human rights violations and abuses, some of which may amount to war crimes and crimes against humanity. The report sets out Myanmar's military and security forces' flagrant disregard for human life, bombarding populated areas with airstrikes and heavy weapons, and deliberately targeting civilians, some of whom have been shot in the head, burned to death, arbitrarily arrested, tortured, or used as human shields. Meaningful action by the international community is urgently needed to stop yet more individuals from being stripped of their rights, their lives, and their livelihoods.
A Reuters drone captured these images of the Ever Forward, a container ship run aground in the Chesapeake Bay near Baltimore along the Maryland shore. The grounding was first reported by the U.S. Coast Guard. And if the name on the side looks familiar, that's because another container ship, the Evergreen, famously ran aground in the Suez Canal last March and blocked traffic in one of the world's busiest waterways. Both boats are operated by the Taiwanese company Evergreen Marine. A representative for the shipping line could not be reached for comment. The Coast Guard received reports on Sunday that the Ever Forward was grounded and said it was not blocking traffic.
North Korea has fired an unidentified projectile on Wednesday, but it seems to have failed, according to the South Korean military. The Joint Chiefs of Staff said the launch took place in the Sunan area in Pyongyang at 9:30 this morning. Other details have not been disclosed, and authorities of South Korea and the U.S. are conducting further analysis. There have been growing speculation that Pyongyang may conduct an ICBM test under the disguise of a satellite development project. In response, Seoul and Washington are considering to resume the so-called Blue Lightning combined drills involving America's nuclear-capable bombers. And in a show of force against Pyongyang, the U.S. military also conducted a carrier-based air demonstration in the Yellow Sea this week, and is also strengthening its missile interception exercise in the south.
This is the moment the land gave way. People watch in disbelief. And within seconds, dozens of homes are buried underneath tons of mud and rock. The remote community springs in action to rescue neighbours, friends and family while they wait for emergency services to arrive. Heavy rain is thought to have caused the landslide, but the area high up in the Andes where miners live has always been deemed unsafe. Building on riverbanks and hillsides prone to landslides is common in Peru and often illegal.